Dennis Lloyd Martin was born on June 20th, 1962 in Tennessee, USA. He and his family lived in Knoxville, where Dennis's father, William, or Bill as he was more commonly known, worked as an architect. On Father's Day weekend, the 14th of June 1969, just 6 days shy of turning 7 years old, Dennis, or Denny as he was more commonly known to family and friends, set off to the Great Smoky Mountains National Park alongside his father, Bill, his grandfather, Clyde, and his 9-year-old brother, Douglas, for a hiking and camping trip, a Father's Day tradition for the family. This was reportedly the first Father's Day outing that Dennis had been on. On the first day of their trip, the Martins hiked 10 miles from Cades Cove to Russell Field, then travelled to Spence Field the following day, located near to the Appalachian Trail, and decided to set up camp there. According to various sources, the family met up with more Martins in Spence Field who were visiting from Huntsville, Alabama. However, it's unconfirmed whether these Martins from Alabama were relatives or not, as sources differ on this fact. Between 2 and 4:30 p.m. that day, Dennis, Douglas, and Dr. Carter Martin's 2 sons played a game of hide-and-seek in the park near to the Appalachian Trail. Both Martin families watched their children huddle, look over at them, and split off into 2 parties going into the forest. Doug and Carter's 2 sons, and Dennis on his own. The adults knew that the children were going to jump up behind them to frighten them as a prank. Doug and the other 2 Martin children appeared and scared Bill, Clyde, and Carter. However, Dennis didn't appear. At first, it was thought that because Dennis was younger, he took a little longer to make the circle round. However, not even after 5 minutes, his family grew concerned, and the men split off to look for him. Dennis's father, Bill, immediately called out for his son and ran along the Appalachian Trail for around a mile before returning back to camp, thinking that perhaps Dennis had been found, but he was still missing. Bill then ran west for approximately 2.5 miles along the trail to Russell Field before returning back to camp once again, to no avail. Dennis's grandfather Clyde went searching down Anthony's Creek to Cades Cove before informing park rangers at 8:30 p.m. that Dennis had vanished. Many people were hiking and fishing on the Appalachian Trail at the same time, and they were more than willing to help the Martins look for him. However, none of them had seen the 6-year-old boy. Whilst the searches for Dennis continued, police questioned all of those who were in the area that night, including hikers. However, all were ruled out of having any involvement in Dennis's disappearance. Many volunteers helped park rangers search for Dennis Martin, including college students, Boy Scouts, hunters, on and off-duty firefighters and police, members of 57 rescue squads from 4 states, and military personnel, including 60 Green Berets, diverted from a training mission. At the peak of the search, over 1,400 people were involved, scouring the forests and trails for Dennis. As darkness fell that first night, thunder and lightning rumbled on through the night, and 2.5 inches of rain fell, the bad weather continuing into the next day, which led to some severe flooding. As a result of such heavy and frequent rainfall, Dennis's footprints and any other important evidence would have been washed away. Also, the search the following day was hampered due to extremely heavy fog, making the search effort incredibly difficult. On the third day of searching, a full grid search and drainage searches were conducted, media arriving in swarms and more police coming along with bloodhounds that set out to find some clues. However, their efforts only met dead ends. Helicopters were also called in to help with the search, clocking up a total of over 200 hours searching the area for Dennis. Land, earth, and water were searched thoroughly by authorities and volunteers, but there was still no sign of Dennis. It was as if he had gone up in smoke. On the fourth day, something interesting was uncovered. Footprints were found near the west prong of the Pigeon River, the print the size of a child's Oxford-type shoe, which Dennis Martin was last seen wearing. The print found was described as, quote, one shoe on, one shoe off, and according to one of the trackers who had already scoured the area with the search party, the shoe print matched Dennis's. However, this was later ruled out, as authorities believed the print to belong to one of the search party, despite the fact that no children were involved. As the weather continued to hamper the air and ground searches, hopes of finding young Dennis alive were dwindling. The search effort was eventually abandoned on June 29th and was officially closed in September of 1969. Rather interesting new information came to light when a man named Harold Key claimed that on the afternoon Dennis disappeared, he and his family were near Rowan's Creek in the Sea Branch area, around 3 miles away from where Dennis had disappeared, when he heard a, quote, enormous, sickening scream. A couple of minutes passed, and Harold noticed a rough-looking man moving cautiously in the woods near to where he had heard the scream, the man going into a white vehicle and then driving off. It is widely disputed whether the man was carrying a child with him or not. Harold did not actually report this odd incident until several days after, upon returning home and learning of Dennis Martin's disappearance. Unfortunately, Harold couldn't recall exactly when this incident happened. However, the FBI concluded his claim did not have sufficient evidence to launch an investigation. Park rangers also concluded that Dennis could not have been in that area at the time due to the distance between the creek and where he was last seen. In 1985, a ginseng hunter came forward and told authorities that he came across the skeletal remains of a child in Tremont's Big Hollow, Tennessee, around 9 miles from where the scream was heard and where the rugged man was seen. The hunter had actually seen the bones years earlier, but he hadn't come forward sooner because he thought he would have been blamed for Dennis's death, and that he would also be prosecuted for hunting ginseng illegally. Law enforcement went to the spot the hunter indicated, but unfortunately they found nothing of significance. The unsuccessful search for Dennis Martin led to the National Park Service to review and amend its policies on searching for missing people. The fact that so many people were involved meant that potentially valuable clues were lost. 3 theories have been put forward as to what possibly happened to Dennis Martin that day in the summer of 1969. The first is that during the night, he became lost and perished from exposure. The second is that he was attacked by a bear. Bears would normally not attack humans. However, at the time Dennis vanished, food was scarce in the Spencefield area, rangers having come across a very thin bear in a boar trap baited with corn around 2 weeks beforehand. Bears don't normally eat food such as corn, but they were desperate and would likely eat anything they could find. The third is that Dennis was abducted and taken out of the park by someone, a theory supported by his father, Bill. Despite extensive investigations, what truly happened to Dennis Martin that day remains a mystery. He was 6 years old at the time he disappeared and was of Caucasian descent, approximately 4 feet to 4 feet 1 inches tall and weighing approximately 55 pounds. Dennis has dark brown wavy hair and brown eyes with long, thick eyelashes. He was missing one of his upper front teeth at the time. On the day he disappeared, Dennis was wearing a red t-shirt, a pair of dark green hiking shorts, a pair of white socks, and black, low-cut Oxford shoes with a simple heel. It should also be noted that Dennis was a special education student at the time of his disappearance, his mental age falling behind by around about 6 months. He is described as a husky, healthy boy who had hiking and camping experience and wasn't particularly fearful, despite being a rather quiet boy. He would, however, respond to anyone who called out for him by name, including strangers. Those with any information regarding this case are urged to contact the Great Smoky Mountain Police Department on 865 436 1230.